the Swiss yen, and we were short this thing again in this neighborhood. I'll put the bar on it so you can kind of see. It was yesterday, and it was like about this area here. I think we probably got short in the 115.50-ish range up against these highs at the time. Clearly, we got taken out. It appears that this thing might be, we were wrong on that one. But the one, again, that was a relatively tight stop. But the one we had on the money, yeah, got it one right, I guess. Just everyone on the call saying, well, Greg, of course you got lucky and got one right. Maybe it was luck, maybe it wasn't. But we had this one again. We're going back 2 days on this, so I'm going to make sure I can. We got shorted. This is the U.S. versus the Canadian. Looking at a 15-minute chart, we are looking at. We were up in the. When we got shorted, it was like 109.36. So like in this area here. Again, it traded up a little bit, but then we got a really big move to the downside. The low came in around 1.08, like 56. Full disclosure, I think I got off the bus about here, around 108.70, 72, something like that. I think is where I took profits on this move down. So took a small win to the downside on this thing. We originally put this and talked about this trade a couple of days ago in the cyber group as a relatively short-term trade. If I can turn off the auto-scrolling, I'm sorry, turn it. If I can turn off auto-scrolling, we can go backwards. And we talked about this trade back on, I think it was on Monday. Or maybe it was Tuesday. And you can see, if you're looking at this chart right now with me, we were sort of, that red line, we kind of looked like we had come down, and we had some resistance there. If you can see these highs get put in, we couldn't seem to get back. And again, we were waiting for this move that eventually we did see, which is down here. So let me take that off for you guys, so you can see what we're talking about. Delete that for you. We'll close it up. Okay, now we've taken a look at that. We can go back to our trades today. I'm going to jump back out of my screen sharing, see if I have anybody who has any questions, anything that they want to talk about while we're in here. Make sure everybody's got audio, which I know we do. So anybody who has any questions, I'm going to keep an eye on the screen for you. If not, we're going to start looking for some opportunities maybe to put some day trades on. I've got a couple that I'm looking at that haven't set up yet that I don't want to really put out there until I'm sure I can come up with the setup. Not going to go fishing. And again, there are days when you do this. There are days when maybe we don't have anything. Again, I'm gonna probably put a trade or two on just to give something to talk about. But again, I'm going to be very honest. It feels as quiet as it is today that I might be reaching, and I'm only going to do it as an illustration. I would definitely not recommend you guys going out and trading on these things. But we're going to try to find some things for you. I'm going to show you what's the methodology, how would I go through it. Got a question? Good. Tutorial, we're going to try to do that. Somebody asked about the 15-minute chart. Well, I use them all, and it sort of depends on my time frame where I see opportunity. The 15-minute is normally where I will find, if I'm trading short term, I'll try to find some opportunity. But I do go down to the 5-minute and the 1 minute. I'm going to do that for you right now. Like sort of the thought process of like, what am we looking for? And you can't just look at, in my opinion, just one chart. If you look at one chart, you can misread what's going on. You kind of need to look at what's going on the chart, the higher time frame, and for me, entry normally using the lower time frame. So as an example, if I was looking at a 15-minute chart, I probably would look, if let's say I saw an upside move that I saw coming, I would probably move up into the 1 hour and even the 4-hour chart to see if I have any kind of a confirmation with that. And if, let's say I have a confirmation, I feel like, okay, I'm looking for an opportunity to get in now. Where do I want to get in? I'm then going to look from the 15-minute, try to find, do I see something that is a good stop? And that's kind of my first look. I'm always trying to figure out where am I going to get out? The other side, taking profit usually comes, but I try to figure out, okay, where do I have a solid area that I can play against the support or resistance, against some building pivot points? Where have I seen other traffic that would hold up or resist, put a resistance area in for this trade? And then I go down to a 5-minute. I normally, unless I'm really looking to just do a quick trade, I'm not going to normally do entry and exit on a 1-minute. I may look at it, but I try to look at them all when I'm doing that. Just looking at the other questions here. Can you explain the chart setup? Okay, I have them set up where I've got a whole bunch of different time frames for a particular currency pair, so I can kind of look at everything that's going on with one pair. I also have some profiles set up where I can look at, and we'll do that probably first. Look at time frame. The other question I saw is what moving average to use. It's a simple moving average. It's a momentum one that I've got let me see if I can find it. I'll bring it up in the chart and show you. It's kind of I call it like a colored moving average, and I use it. It's a 20 period, but it sort of gives me a momentum coloring, sort of a yellow, green, red, up, down. So let's go back to, because why I'm talking to you guys about this is I can't see. I have to bring up the chart window so I can see these questions. Osman, how do you deal with losses? Well, that's a really, really, really good question, and it's one that I've struggled with for 20 years, to be very honest with you. I know exactly what you're doing, and what you find a lot of times is people who want to teach you about trading will tell you how you can turn a losing trade into a winning trade, and what they never really talk about, and I will, is that you take a loss. Like you went in with a plan, and as hard as it is, and I promise you, you have a stop loss set at a level, and it's going to tick just below there, take you out, and it's going to turn the other way. I had it happen. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. I had one where I looked at it, and it so felt like the broker was waiting to just fill my order on the stop and turn the thing around, and it happened. And I'm laughing, but you have to be able to be disciplined enough, because you can't put yourself in a position where with your account set at whatever amount of money you have in it, you go into a trading day with a plan of, this is where I'm setting my stop, and this is where I'm looking to take profit. And deviating from the plan on the profit side, I don't have as much a problem with, but you just have to be able to walk away. Because what I do know is that it's easier to make a trading decision with no position on than trying to make a trading decision while scrambling to stay in a trade that is clearly going against you. It's a really hard thing to do. I wish I had a great answer for you. I wish I had a great answer, and I don't. It's really comes down to a discipline. And I'll tell you that the people that go riding losses ride themselves right out of their account. I've had guys that worked for me who did it. I remember specifically a JP Morgan trader I had who had just a nasty, ugly, horrible negative gamma, short gamma, just an awful position. And I can remember speaking to him at the end, like midday, and I was on one trading floor, and he was in Philly, I was in New York, and I was like, hey man, you got to pare this thing down. You got to take it off. And when I looked at it, and I called him back at the end of the day, I found out that he hadn't done anything. Needless to say, his employment was quickly terminated after that, because you can't keep riding those losers. How many charts do I have open? Well, it really depends. I use this screen that I showed you that has like 8 on it. I use that as kind of my that's where I begin the search. But I normally will only keep 1, maybe 2 open at a time. I mean, I'm somebody who I love looking at charts. I might have 3 open at a time. I mean, if I could have 5 screens and charts everywhere, that would be fine with me. But I've got a problem with square footage on my laptop here, and I've only really got, like, when I'm at home, I've got a little bit bigger screen. I can throw a couple more up, but 2 or 3, because to be honest with you, we're talking about currency pairs. You're thinking about 6, 8 pairs trade actively. And you can flip back and forth. I mean, so I know people who will toggle back and forth, and I do that too. To toggle back and forth between screens. As a newer trader, the thing you don't want to do is information overload. Part of the beauty of trading foreign currency is that you can, with a relatively simple number of pairs, specialize. So, yeah, psychology, exactly, Vittorio. Psychology helps. Let me flip the screens, and I'll give you guys a look at how I would go through. Again, we're thinking about today being a relatively quiet day so far. Let me look at okay, we should be sharing, and I'm going to pull. You guys will probably see the little chat window pop up. I'm going to pull the chat window up, stick it down here in the corner. If I miss you, I'm probably going to ignore it a little bit. If I miss you guys on a chat, I'll check back in on this thing in a minute. I'm going to keep it closed for the moment so we can all see the screens. Since we're looking for short term, let me show you how I do this. And I've got down at the bottom here a couple of watch lists. Again, I'll look at 15 minutes. And what I've got here are 15-minute charts that are I've got the Aussie, Canadian, Aussie yen, Aussie New Zealand, Aussie US. By the way, me having all these Aussies up front has nothing to do with the fact that I got my master's degree in Australia and I have a soft spot in my heart for Australia. It's just that alphabetically, that's how we keep them. You've got the Canadian. Let me tile this window so you can tile the window so you can see it a little bit better. We've got Canadian yen, which we've traded Swissy yen, Euro Australian, and Euro Canadian. And honestly, what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for some. I use the bars from the candlesticks, and I just look for example, the Australian New Zealand on a 15-minute seems a little strong. We're looking at the this chart here, and I've got a spreadsheet that I use. It's no magic. It's a simple spreadsheet that I have, and I just kind of call it my radar. And what I'll do is I will go through these pairs, and I'll make notes on the 15-minute, the 5-minute, the 1-minute. I'll make notes to myself. Hey, what are we looking at? Do I want to take a look at this trade or that trade? And in this one, it looks like we're following off a pretty big. This is that 15-minute move. This was yesterday about this time. It's about 12 hours ago. So it was what time is it now? So it was last night on the opening. We got a move up in the Aussie New Zealand. So this is something that I'm going to maybe make a note of. In general, what I would do is I would probably keep going through all of these and looking for like the Canadian yen. Okay, this thing's trading on the downside. We've got some support. Again, we're looking at a 15-minute chart. Got some support that's about 15 pips away. If you wanted to make a play to the upside, you'd say, okay, I can probably put a stop in relatively low. Let's be clear. I'm not recommending necessarily this trade. I'm just talking about what would we do if I was going to start looking at it, and I'm going to. It is the Canadian yen. Okay, so I'm near a support level. So one of two things could happen if you were going to initiate a trade. You could say, all right, if I think, and again, I need to do some more looking, but in general, if I'm looking at this one, if I thought it was going to go up, I'd want to be able to put a stop somewhere tight where I can support it. It looks like it's going down. So this might be a breakout trade. And what I mean by that is we might want to wait and watch this trade and wait for it to break this level, put a sell stop below. And so, again, let's take a look at this in a little bit more in depth. I'm not recommending this trade. This is educational only. Please do not go pumping your account, anything but your demo account, with a trade like this. So let's take a look at that Canadian, the Canadian yen in a little bit more detail. Let me pull up the Canadian yen profile, and we'll see what we see. So Canadian yen. Now we were working, tile these windows for everybody. We were working on a 15-minute. Here's that 15-minute chart again. Now let's look above and below. Here's the 1 hour. Again, playing on the bottoms. What's our low here off this 1 hour chart is in the neighborhood of 92.91. We're at 93.31. So if you wanted to use that as a stop, you're talking about 40 pips. Not sure if I'm not sure which way I like this trade. Here's our 4 hour. And this to me gives me more of a feel that this thing could be rolling over. Again, we're in this neighborhood of 92.90. So this might be one where I kind of feel like this could be a downside trade. Now, this is our 4 hour chart. So if we're looking at this, I'm now starting to think, okay, where are my stops the other way? Well, on a 4 hour chart, I'm 58 pips from this pivot high. So let's go look at the 15-minute. Where am I? Well, if I wanted to put a sale in here at the level where we're trading right now, there's a stop at 12 pips. There's some resistance at about 17 pips. If you go over to these highs, 22 pips, taking it all the way up to the top here is 55. If I wanted to get short here, I would probably put a very tight stop in, and I'm starting to look at this 93.47 level as an area where I might get short. Now again, when we started this thing, I was looking for a reason to get long. I might want to get short, just simply thinking that we could go back and test these lows in a very short-term trade. Again, we're looking at only a 20-pip trade. I don't necessarily like the range here. So let's go in one more. Let's go to a 5-minute chart, see what we can see on the 5-minute. Now, on a 5-minute chart, on the 5-minute chart, if we look at, let me draw the line in for you, it would be a little bit easier. You can kind of see that this level is played out in general a number of times. And what I might want to do is look for the chance. Let me see what I can do here. See what we've got. Where we're trading right now, we're to the stop. We're looking 10, 11, 12 pips. And if we could ride this trade down, there seems to be 22 the other way. I think if I was going to wait, I might try to sell up against this resistance level again to get a little bit better trade. But what I'm going to do is, since we're on the trade, let's just put it out there. Please, guys, do not do this trade. This is just me showing you the psychology of, like, how am I thinking about the trade? What am I looking for? And what am I doing here? I'm trying to sell. I got a pretty decent stop behind me, and I'm looking to get a quick move to the downside and get out of the trade. Before I do this, let me just take a look at the 1-minute chart, because that's really the neighborhood we're trading in, 1 minute at this point, it feels like. And again, the 1 minute doesn't really give me anything except that I still have the same sort of up here, 97.40-ish, kind of our stop. So let's put it in on a 5-minute. I'm going to trade this one so we have something to talk about. Please don't go do this trade. Please, please, please. And here's a quick way that I do this. Since I'm selling it, I'm going to put my stop loss. I just throw the stop losses. If I'm in a hurry like this, I just get it below where we are and hit sell. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my chart to grab and then I'm going to take out this horizontal line, object list, so you knew where we put that in. Please, guys, again, don't do this trade. I'm just trying to get one on so I can show you how I would think through this. And now what I can do is that's 17 pips to the downside, about 16 or 17 pips. Make it about, so it's right now it's about a 1-to-1 trade. Again, probably not something that I would necessarily do. Trying to do this as an example just to show you guys what I'm thinking about. But what I can tell you I would do is, while managing this trade, let's take a look at it. The beautiful thing about FXCM and the MetaTrader is, first of all, FXCM, great broker. You can get a demo trade and practice this kind of stuff. But the MetaTrader product allows you to, you can't even see the stops because it's on a 1-minute chart there. If you look at it on a 15-minute, you can see where we are. And what I'm hoping to do, if I were going to stay in this trade, is I'm looking to possibly, by the way, if you're looking at the profit down there, it's my demo account is set up as a 2-lot. So that's a 2 full lots, way bigger than I would recommend anybody trade here to start, because all of a sudden we're looking at every pip is like $20. So we got to, that's serious money. You got to have a decent sized account to do that. I just use 2 so that I can take one off. Again, just my demo account here. But what I'm telling you is that if we were going to do this trade and it starts to go our way, I would probably look to possibly, if this thing goes profit down, it gets down to say this neighborhood. And since I'm actively trading this is much more of a day trade. I'm on it. I'm watching the screen. I'm living and dying with every pip. When it gets down in, when I've taken 10 or 15, 12 pips of profit, I'm then going to pull this stop. I'm going to grab it and I'm going to drag it down to my entry to then make sure that I am at no risk to the downside. Again, this is a short-term trade. We're looking at 5-minute charts, 1-minute charts. Things can change very quickly. The sooner you can get into profit and take your stop up to stop, take your stop to the entry point, the better off you are. And then after that, you may want to consider, let's just say, for example, this thing, what was the 4-hour chart? What did that look like? 4-hour chart looks like, there's room when it breaks here. I mean, you're looking at a serious move to the downside. There's hundreds of pips here. Now, this could turn into a more of a swing trade for you. And one of the ways you could convert it to a swing trade would be to decide that your stop should be, can turn your stop into a trailing stop. Let me show you how you would do that. I'm not recommending you do it. But if you look at this 5-minute chart, if you wanted to, you can. Conrad, what news? Because I'm on with you, paying attention to you guys. Did the U.S. numbers come out just a little while we were on? If you got it, let me know. So let me see. Let's see how I just right-clicked on the stop that I have. Went to trailing stop, and this will allow you to drop a trailing stop. What's a trailing stop? A trailing stop is a stop loss order that will adjust the price to a defined spacing between current market and your stop. What's that mean in English? What that means is right now the underlying is trading at 93.31, we'll call it. If you have a 30 pip stop, it will put the stop loss 30 pips above where it's trading now. As the underlying trades down, which means it's going our way because we're short, it will continue to drag your stop with you. If the underlying moves back up, then the stop stays in place and would take you out once you traded back 30 pips from the lowest point in this example. So I can put in right now, let me show you what that'll do. I'm going to put it in as a 15 pip stop, trail stop, and just you'll be able to see on the market what it's going to do. If you watch that red line, see now the red line's moved, and we could get, I'm going to put it back up here and take it. It's no longer a trailing stop. You have to use those trailing stops. And where would it be great to use a trailing stop? Let's say, and I'm looking at this old example. I'm going to stop scrolling these charts so that we can look at this. Let's say, for example, and again, you didn't have this, but let's just say you did. Let's say you put a short on here, and you can see where I put this arrow. And let's say you thought it could go all the way down to here. If you had a trailing stop, it would keep moving as you went down. It would move your stop down to here. I meant to make an arrow, not a thumbs down. Sorry, guys. And then it would move your stop as it went to here. But when this thing bumps back up a little bit, it's very possible that you could have gotten taken out of your trade, depending on how tightly. So it would keep walking it down and walking it down. And eventually, when it reverses, it would then take you out of that trade. So it ratchets behind. Whether if it's down, if you're short, it will drop your trailing stop down. And let's be clear, what is a stop loss? Stop loss is an order stands on the book, and once the underlying trade's at or above or below, depending on whether it's buy or sell. In this case, it would be at or above your stop number. It then becomes a market order to buy. So it becomes a market order, but it's the way that you would take profits. And if we wow. You see what happened there? I dropped that trailing stop in. I dropped the trailing stop in, and before I got the trailing stop out, it filled us on that trade. This does actually feel like a downside move, but again, I think before I could drag the stop loss out of the way, it took us out of the trade. As you can see, we no longer have an open trade. It took us out with a very, very, very small profit because I set that stop loss in really quickly. So again, I'm going to put that trade on one more time. New order. And I like using this feature of putting the order in with what we call an OCO order. So now, let me go to take this stop back up to here. Take our profit down to here. And again, what is the advantage of doing it the way I just did it? There's two, I think. One, first of all, you're initiating the trade with a stop loss and a profit target, which are easily manipulated on the MetaTrader. I don't like necessarily going back. Like some trading platforms that I've used, if you're using them online away from your laptop or your desktop, you end up you can't execute OCO orders. What's the beauty of an OCO order? One cancels the other. It makes sure that when I have these order out there, if my stop gets executed, my profit doesn't stay there. Because what happens if I leave these are not OCO? If let's say that I'm short here and it trades up and I get stopped out and I think I'm out of the trade. Well, if I still have a buy order down here, if it trades back down lower, it's going to initiate a buy for me. So you have to be very careful that your orders are set properly. Those OCO orders are really good at making are protecting you that you're only exposed on one side of the market. The other thing I like about the MetaTrader is I just run the stop above and below when I want to get in real quickly, and I prefer to make the decisions as to the stops. I like using the graphics here, so I like using the graphic interface. Let me go back to the 15-minute profile, see if we can find something else for you. We'll walk through the psychology of it again before we get to the end of our day. Bringing up my section 2. These screens are tiled. Here's the pound Swissy. Not surprising. It looks very similar to the one we just looked at. So let's take a look at the pound Swissy, GBP CFH. Let's take a look at this on a profile for just that. and GBP, CHF, not CHF, not CFH, sorry, my bad. Tile the windows. Okay, so let's look at it on a 1 hour chart. Okay, to put in some new lows, there's some space if this thing stays rolled over. 4 hours to tell us anything more. Yeah, it looks like there's room if we broke through here on the downside to 46 pips to here, 50 to there. So again, I'm looking at this thing saying, where can I find a stop just quickly? And it's a 4 hour chart. If I'd be willing to do a swing trade, I kind of have to put a lot more money at risk. So we saw the 15 minute. What's the 5 minute look like? 5 minute again. If we're wrong here, there's two ways to look at this. You could do a buy, and it sure looks like you could get up 25 or 30 pips on the upside. Your downside's about 20 pips to the downside. I don't have a real big lean here. If it clears this area, you could see it move up. What's the 1 minute chart look like? Clearly likes it on the upside on the 1 minute chart. Back to our 15 minute. I'm looking at this level saying 141, 147.18. It's only about a 20 pip stop. I'm going to put the opposite trade on here, guys. And again, don't do this trade. I'm just doing it to show you what would I be doing. What am I looking for here? I'm looking for the opportunity to buy it, catch a move to the upside with a relatively short stop. So now my stop loss is going to be below, and I just drop it below, and I put my take profit up above where we're trading now, and then I'll fill in the blanks once I hit buy. So let's move my stop down to here. Take profit up to here, put it in this traffic area. What are we looking at? $619 to make on the upside, lose about $560. So we've got about a 1-to-1. Again, please do not do this trade. I'm just throwing something on so we can watch it trade. I promise you that I will probably lose money on both of these trades, just to prove myself. And there we go. The pound Swissy already showing us down like 90 bucks. So what I do is this is how I begin the trading. There's no magic machine that spits out winners. I do like to go to places like, the forex factory, because what you'll find there are ideas. There are people who post trades that they're going to do. I don't necessarily always want to go with what everyone else is doing. In fact, my natural inclination is to go the other way. It's really to just, go the other way when trading. So that's my inclination. That's what I think about, and I go through this process of trying to identify opportunity. And I will look at things the other way, where I may look at the 15-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour for a longer-term trade, a trade that I'm going to manage over, the swing trade. Could be a couple days, but at that point, I'm putting more money at risk. It could be a stop of 50 or 60 pips, trying to make 100. These trades we're talking about here is trying to it's much more of a 1-to-1, but because we're going to sit in front of it and manage them all, for the hour or two that we're trading, it makes for a better trading opportunity. I'm more willing to be a 1-to-1 risk to reward if I'm actively managing the trade, because once I see 10 or 15 pips of profit, I'm probably going to just jump in 20 pips of profit, take it, and get out of the trade and move on for another opportunity. So it really depends your style on what you like to do. I've talked to one of the guys in the office at CTU, and he was glad to hear that I was going to start talking more about short-term trades, about day trades, as we would call them. He said, Greg, because I need to see stuff happen. I'm not somebody who can sit and put a trade on and wait 3 days. It's not my style. And everybody's kind of got their own style. And you have to find out. If you're somebody who can't sleep at night because you've got a trade on, then you may want to become a more short-term trader. I have a standing rule. If a trade keeps you up at night, it's a trade you need to get out of. And I used to abide by that religiously when I was trading options. I couldn't sleep. I had the wrong trade on. So identifying the way that you trade. If you come back to the workshop at the end of the month, we're going to talk more about short-term trading and how you find what works for you. trying to put the odds in your favor. But let's be clear, none of this is magic. None of this is an ATM machine where you always make money. It really comes down to active money management and the discipline that you need to teach and learn. I'm going to stop sharing so I can maybe answer a couple of questions. See if I can stop sharing here before we get up to right up at 9 o'clock. Let me see if I can answer some questions. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to log off of the WebEx because I know we were up against 9 o'clock, but I will try to answer a couple of questions. I'm going to stop the recording, or the team back in New York can stop the recording, and we are going to hopefully everybody will join us again at our webinar.